I was still bleeding from giving birth when he served me the custody papers. The same man who abandoned me at 7 months pregnant, who told me our baby was my problem, now wanted to take my child away forever. I discovered he'd been building his case for months, photographing me without my knowledge, hacking my social media, even paying people to testify about my mental instability. What kind of monster plots to steal a child from its mother's arms? But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to when it all began, when his smile seemed genuine and his promises felt real. Back before I knew what he was capable of, before I understood that some men don't leave because they don't want a family, they leave to destroy the one they created. Subscribe to our channel for my full story. I met James at my cousin's wedding. He wasn't supposed to be there last minute, plus one who caught my eye across the dance floor. Tall, with kind eyes that crinkled when he smiled, the type of man who listened when you spoke, who remembered small details about your life that most people forget. You deserve better than waiting tables, he told me on our third date, after I complained about my job. Someone with your intelligence should be running the place. 6 months later, we were married at the courthouse. My mother thought it was too fast. But what did she know about modern love? She'd been alone since Daddy died. He's the one, Mama, I insisted. When you know, you know. Our first year was beautiful. James got promoted at the insurance firm. We moved to a 2-bedroom apartment, started talking about children. I quit waitressing like he wanted, took a part-time job at a boutique instead. Less money but more flexible hours. We'll need that when we have kids, he said. We tried for months without luck. Each negative test felt like a personal failure. James never blamed me, not out loud, but I saw the disappointment in his eyes. Then one morning, I knew before the test, my body felt different. When those 2 lines appeared, I planned a special dinner to tell him, cooked his favorite meal, bought a tiny pair of baby shoes to wrap as a gift. His face when he opened that box, I still remember the flash of something dark before his smile appeared. But I told myself it was surprise, not fear, not anger. That's wonderful, he said, the pause so slight I almost missed it. The changes started that night, subtle at first. He worked later, touched his phone like it might bite him whenever I entered the room, started questioning our finances. Though we'd been doing fine. We need to be more careful now, he'd say, examining the grocery receipts. Babies are expensive. By the 3rd month, the nursery plans we'd made gathered dust. He no longer touched my growing belly or talked about names. When his mother called about a baby shower, he told her it was too early. Something might happen, he said after hanging up. Women lose babies all the time. I told myself he was scared. First-time father jitters. But then came that Tuesday, 12 weeks pregnant, when I found him packing a suitcase. I can't do this, he said without looking at me. I thought I wanted it, but I don't. Not with you. What does that mean? Not with me. He zipped the suitcase. This was a mistake, Carly. We rushed into marriage, and now, he gestured vaguely at my stomach. This is your problem. My problem. This is your child. We'll see about that, he muttered, so low I barely caught it. Before I could respond, he was out the door. No warning, no real explanation. Just gone, leaving me standing in our half-empty closet. One hand on my barely showing belly, the other clutching the doorframe to keep from collapsing. I tried calling for days. His parents wouldn't speak to me. Friends chose sides, and most chose his. Later I'd learn he'd told them I'd trapped him with a pregnancy that might not even be his, a cruel lie that spread like wildfire through our social circle. Alone at night, I'd talk to my baby. It's just us now, I whispered, but we'll be okay. I had no idea what he was planning. No idea at all. The first month after James left, I kept expecting him to come back, to call, to at least ask about his child. Nothing. Instead, the changes came fast. Credit cards declined, joint account emptied, his name removed from our utilities. It was like he was erasing our life together while I was still living in it. I took extra shifts at the boutique, but standing all day made my ankles swell. My boss noticed my growing belly and cut my hours. Customers don't want to be reminded of biology while shopping, she said, eyes anywhere but on me. By my 5th month, I moved in with my mother. Her 1-bedroom apartment barely fit us both, but her social security check and my dwindling savings kept us afloat. Every night, I'd check my phone, hoping for a message. something to explain why the man who once talked about family names had vanished from ours. "He's done you a favor," Mama would say, brushing my hair like she did when I was little. "Better to know what kind of man he is before the baby comes." But sometimes, in the grocery store or at the doctor's office, I'd feel eyes on me, turn to see someone watching, only to have them quickly look away. Once, I swore I saw James's friend Tom taking photos of me in the parking lot. When I called out, he drove off, tires squealing. "You're being paranoid," Mama said when I told her. Pregnancy does that to a woman's mind. Maybe she was right. Between the hormones and heartbreak, I wasn't sleeping. Jumped at every noise. Started checking locks twice each night. At 6 months, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "How's my baby doing?" I called immediately. "James, is that you?" Silence, then a click. Blocked before I could say more. The next day, a certified letter arrived. James was requesting a paternity test at birth. His lawyer stated he had reasonable cause to question the child's parentage. The words blurred through my tears. The only man I'd been with in years was questioning if this was his baby. I couldn't afford a lawyer. The legal aid office had a 3-month waiting list. My doctor warned that stress wasn't good for the baby, but how could I not stress? The man who abandoned us was now accusing me of infidelity. 7 months pregnant, I stood in line at the food bank, back aching, feet swollen. A woman behind me whispered to her friend, "That's her, the one who's lying about who the father is." I turned, but they avoided my eyes, smirking. That night, parked outside Mama's apartment, I saw a car I didn't recognize. It pulled away when I approached. Inside, I double-checked the locks, drew the curtains tight. "You're scaring me, Carly," Mama said. "Maybe you should talk to someone. This isn't healthy." "He's watching me, Mama. I don't know why, but he is." She patted my hand. "Get some sleep, baby. Tomorrow will be better." But it wasn't. At my 8-month checkup, the nurse handed me prenatal vitamins with a strange look. "Someone already picked these up for you last week," she said. "A man said he was your husband." Ice filled my veins. He wasn't just watching, he was interfering. But why? I wouldn't understand until it was too late. The contractions started at 2 a.m., 2 weeks early. Mama drove me to the hospital, her ancient Buick protesting with every pothole. "Everything's going to be fine," she kept saying, more to herself than to me. The pain wasn't what I expected. Not waves, but lightning sharp, sudden, stealing my breath. By the time we reached the hospital, I couldn't walk. A nurse brought a wheelchair, her face calm, in ways mine couldn't be. "First baby?" she asked, wheeling me through fluorescent hallways. I nodded, unable to speak through the contraction. "Father coming?" Another nurse at the check-in desk. "No," Mama answered for me. "He's not in the picture." The pitying look. I'd get used to those. They put me in a room with mint green walls and a clock that ticked too loudly, hooked me to machines that beeped and hummed. My body, no longer my own, betrayed me with pain and urgency. 12 hours later, still no baby. The doctor mentioned a C-section if things didn't progress. I was too exhausted to argue, too frightened to agree. "I can't do this," I whispered to Mama while the nurses changed shifts. She squeezed my hand. "You already are, baby girl. You already are." Hour 16. My water finally broke. Things moved quickly then. The room filled with people and purpose. "Push," they said. "Breathe," they said. As if I had control over any of it. My daughter arrived at 7:43 p.m., screaming her outrage at the world. They placed her on my chest. This tiny person with James's nose and my chin. Perfect. Impossible. Mine. "Lily," I whispered to her. "Lily Grace." Mama cried. I'd never seen her cry before, not even at Daddy's funeral. Later, after they took Lily to the nursery for tests, after Mama went home to shower, I lay alone in the after-dark room, my body raw and strange, leaking and tender. The nurse had given me something for pain that made the ceiling swim. I must have dozed because a noise woke me, the soft click of a phone camera. I opened my eyes to see a woman in scrubs I didn't recognize. Phone aimed at me. "What are you doing?" My voice cracked from hours of screaming. She startled, nearly dropping the phone. "Just ... checking your eye before." She hurried out before I could say more. I pressed the call button, but by the time another nurse arrived, I wondered if I'd dreamed it. The medication was strong, and new mothers were known for paranoia. No one unauthorized has been in your room, the nurse assured me. Try to rest. But I couldn't shake the feeling, kept seeing the woman's face, familiar somehow. The next morning, they brought Lily back, her tiny fingers wrapped around mine, and nothing else mattered. Not the pain, not the strange incident, not James's absence, just this miracle, this responsibility. Mama arrived with a stuffed bear and tears still drying on her cheeks. She's beautiful, Carly, absolutely beautiful. We were discharged 3 days later. Mama helped me to the car, Lily secure in her new car set, a gift from the nurses who'd taken pity on us. Ready to go home? Mama asked, adjusting the rear view. Mira. I looked at Lily, peaceful, in sleep. Yes, I said, though I wasn't sure where home was anymore. The apartment complex looked the same as we left it. Same cracked sidewalk, same rusted mailboxes. But something felt different. Wrong. We were at the door when I saw him, standing by a black SUV in the parking lot. James, watching us with cold eyes. Not approaching, just ... observing, like we were specimens under glass. Mama, I whispered, nodding toward the lot. She turned, saw him, and stepped in front of me and Lily. Go inside, Carly, now. I did, hands shaking so badly I almost dropped the keys. Through the peephole, I watched Mama approach him, saw her, finger jabbing at his chest, his hands raised in mock surrender. Then he handed her something, an envelope, and drove away. When Mama came inside, her face was ashen. What did he want? I asked, Lily fussing against my chest. She handed me the envelope, lips pressed tight. To give you this. Inside were papers, legal papers. My eyes caught phrases in the blur of text. Petition for custody and unfitness of mother and emergency hearing. He wants to take her, I whispered, understanding dawning like ice water down my spine. He wants to take Lily away from me. The hearing was scheduled for 10 days after Lily's birth. 10 days of healing stitches and midnight feedings, of jumping at every sound and checking locks, of trying to understand how the man who walked out on us now wanted to take my baby. He can't do this, Mama said, reading the papers for the 5th time. He abandoned you both. But according to his petition, he hadn't abandoned us. He'd removed himself from a toxic situation while maintaining financial responsibility. Lies, all lies. The papers claimed I was mentally unstable, prone to paranoid delusions, a danger to myself and potentially to the child. They mentioned evidence and witness statements but didn't include details. We need a lawyer, Mama said. We couldn't afford one. My savings were gone. Mama's Social Security barely covered rent. I called legal aid again, but they couldn't help before the hearing. Just show up, the tired voice on the phone advised. Tell the judge your side. Request a continuance to find representation. The day before the hearing, Lily wouldn't stop crying. Colic, the pediatrician had said. Normal, but exhausting. I hadn't slept more than 2 hours at a stretch since her birth. My body ached. My mind felt foggy. Dark thoughts crept in at 3 a.m. while I paced with my screaming daughter. What if they took her? What if they believed him? What would I do? Morning came with no answers. I dressed carefully in the one maternity dress that didn't look worn. Applied makeup to hide the dark circles under my eyes. Practiced what I would say to the judge while Mama drove us to the courthouse. Remember, she said as we approached the imposing building, you're her mother. That means something in this world. I wanted to believe her. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. James sat at a table with a man in an expensive suit. Both turned when we entered. James's face gave nothing away, but his lawyer smiled slightly, as if already victorious. We sat at the other table, just Mama and me, with Lily asleep in her carrier. No lawyer, no advocate, just a terrified new mother still wearing mesh postpartum underwear beneath her only decent dress. The judge entered, an older woman with silver hair and tired eyes. She reviewed the papers silently while I fought the urge to run. Mr. Reynolds claims the mother is unfit, the judge finally said, looking up. Do you have evidence to present, counselor? James's lawyer stood. We do, Your Honor. He approached with a thick folder. Photographs documenting Miss Taylor's erratic behavior during pregnancy. Witness statements attesting to concerning mental health issues. Medical records indicating she refused recommended prenatal care. Lies, all lies. We also have evidence of substance abuse during pregnancy, he continued, and statements from neighbors regarding concerning outbursts and unstable behavior. The judge frowned, reviewing the documents. Ms. Taylor, do you have representation? I stood on shaking legs. No, Your Honor, I couldn't afford a lawyer. And your response to these allegations? They're not true, I said, voice breaking. None of it is true. He left me when I was 12 weeks pregnant, emptied our accounts. I haven't abused substances. I went to every prenatal appointment I could afford. He's lying. The judge's expression gave nothing away. Mr. Reynolds is requesting emergency temporary custody pending a full hearing. He's expressing concern for the infant's immediate safety. Please, I whispered, tears finally breaking free. She's only 10 days old. I'm breastfeeding. She needs me. The judge looked at me, then at Lily, then at the papers before her. A long moment passed. I'm ordering temporary joint custody, she finally said. The child will remain primarily with the mother for now, with supervised visitation for the father, 3 times weekly. We'll schedule a full hearing in 30 days, during which time Ms. Taylor should secure legal representation. James's lawyer started to protest, but the judge raised her hand. This is temporary, counselor. Your client abandoned the mother during pregnancy, which doesn't speak well to his commitment. But these allegations are serious enough to warrant investigation. As we left the courtroom, James caught my arm. Mama had taken Lily ahead to the car. This isn't over, he whispered, smile not reaching his eyes. I'm just getting started. By the time I'm done, everyone will see what you really are. Why are you doing this? I asked. You didn't want her. You left us both. His grip tightened. Because you don't deserve to be happy. Not after what you did, what I did. What did I do except love you? He released my arm, straightened his tie. You'll see. Soon everyone will see. Walking to the car, his words echoed in my mind. This wasn't about Lily. This was about hurting me. But why? What had I done to make him hate me so much? I looked back to see him watching me, phone raised, taking another picture. Evidence for his case. Evidence of a crime I hadn't committed. And I realized this was war. A war for my daughter. And I was already losing. The first supervised visitation came 3 days later. A court-appointed supervisor, Ms. Winters, arrived, 15 minutes early. She was older, with kind eyes but a professional demeanor that gave nothing away. I'll be present throughout the visit, she explained, reviewing her clipboard, taking notes on interactions. Try to act naturally. Act naturally while handing my newborn to the man trying to take her away. Sure. James arrived exactly on time, wearing a pressed shirt and bringing a designer diaper bag filled with unnecessary items. We'd be at my apartment the entire time. For show. All for show. There's my princess, he cooed, reaching for Lily with practiced hands. I hesitated, every maternal instinct screaming. Ms. Winters noticed. Mom seems uncomfortable with the handoff, she murmured, writing something down. I forced myself to let go. James cradled Lily expertly, as if he'd been doing it since birth, instead of missing it entirely. He smiled at Ms. Winters. I've been reading all the parenting books, he told her. Proper head support is so important at this age. More notes, more points for him. For 2 hours, I watched James perform fatherhood. He changed a diaper with exaggerated care, prepared a bottle of my pumped milk like he deserved an award, all while making conversation with Ms. Winters about his concerns for Lily's well-being. I just worry about stability, he said, voice dripping false concern. Carly's always been emotional. Even before the pregnancy. Ms. Winters nodded noncommittally. And yet you left during the pregnancy. A practiced sigh. I needed space to think. The relationship had become toxic. But I never abandoned my child. I've been providing financial support. Lies. All lies. You emptied our accounts, I said, unable to stay silent. I had to move in with my mother. Ms. Winters wrote something down. Let's focus on Lily today. When the visit ended, James handed Lily back reluctantly, making sure Ms. Winters noticed his reluctance. At the door, he paused. I forgot to mention, he said casually. My lawyer filed a motion for the paternity test. The technician will contact you. After he left, Ms. Winters lingered. How are you doing, Ms. Taylor? Really? The question, asked with genuine concern, nearly broke me. I'm terrified, I admitted. He doesn't want her. He wants to hurt me, and I don't even know why. She hesitated, then said carefully, document everything, dates, times, exactly what's said. It matters more than you think. The paternity test happened the following week. A cheek swab for Lily, for me, for James. Simple. Clinical. The results a foregone conclusion. I knew who Lily's father was. The question was why he was suddenly so interested in claiming her. 2 days later, I finally heard from a legal aid lawyer, Linda Parker, overworked and underpaid, but willing to help. "Let me see what we're dealing with," she said, reviewing the file in her cluttered office. Her eyes widened slightly as she flipped pages. "This is comprehensive." "What do you mean?" She turned the file toward me. Inside were dozens of photos, me looking exhausted at the grocery store, me crying on a park bench during my 7th month, me arguing with Mama outside her apartment. "He's been documenting you for months," Linda said, building a case even before the baby was born. "But why?" She continued flipping pages. "There's more. Statements from your former neighbors about hearing arguments. Medical records. How did he get these? Highlighting your prescription for anxiety medication 2 years ago. A statement from your former boss about erratic behavior." My stomach dropped. She cut my hours because I was pregnant. Not according to this statement. According to her, you were emotionally unstable, crying in the bathroom, showing up late. That's not true. Linda closed the file. The truth matters less than you think in family court. Perception is everything. And he's creating a very specific perception of you. I left her office with a cold weight in my chest. The evidence wasn't just misleading, it was manufactured, twisted, deliberate. That night, while Lily slept, I searched our old emails, texts, photos, anything to help my case. In a forgotten folder on my laptop, I found a video from our honeymoon. James, laughing on the beach, pulling me into frame. "Tell the camera your deep, dark secrets, Carly," he teased. "No secrets," I'd replied. "I'm an open book." He'd kissed my temple. "That's what I love about you. No games, no lies. Not like her." I paused the video. Her. Who was her? Something clicked. A memory from early in our relationship. James, drunk after a work event, talking about his ex. She took everything. He'd slurred, said I was unfit, kept me from my own blood. I'd thought he meant money, property. But what if ... what if I wasn't the first woman he'd done this to? Linda advised me to start building my own evidence. Keep a journal. Record everything. Save every text, every email. We need to show the court who you really are, not who he's painting you to be. I created a new email account, forwarded everything there, started recording the supervised visits on my phone, legal in our state as long as I was part of the conversation. Documented Lily's feeding schedule, diaper changes, doctor visits, evidence of my competence, my care. But James was always one step ahead. The second supervised visit, he brought his mother. She'd never acknowledged my pregnancy, never called after Lily was born. Now she cooed over her granddaughter while James beamed like Father of the Year. "She has the Reynolds nose," his mother told Ms. Winters. "All the Reynolds babies have it." After they left, Ms. Winters lingered again. "Family support is important," she noted, her tone neutral but her eyes watching my reaction. "His parents never spoke to me after he left," I said, "never asked about the pregnancy. Never sent so much as a card when Lily was born." More notes in her little book. The paternity results came back. No surprise. James was Lily's father. His lawyer immediately filed for expanded visitation rights, including overnight stays, once Lily was a bit older. "He's establishing a pattern," Linda explained, "showing consistent interest, family involvement, resources. Meanwhile, meanwhile, it's just me and my mother," I finished. Linda nodded grimly. "And your mother works nights, correct? Leaving you alone with the baby for extended periods. Is that bad?" "I'm her mother." "It's not bad, but it's a contrast he's highlighting. His stable home with family support versus your more limited situation." I felt sick. This was his plan all along, wasn't it? Leave when I was pregnant, let me struggle, then swoop in to rescue Lily from me. "I can't prove intent," Linda said carefully, "but the timeline is ... concerning." That night, I couldn't sleep despite Lily finally sleeping 3 hours straight. Instead, I searched online for James's ex-girlfriends. There had been one serious relationship before me. I knew that much. A woman named Vanessa something. They'd dated for nearly 2 years. After an hour of searching social media, I found her. Vanessa Chen, now living in Seattle. I sent a message, explaining who I was, not expecting a response. To my shock, she replied within minutes, "Call me, now," and included her number. With shaking hands, I dialed. "Is he trying to take your baby?" she asked immediately. No greeting, but my blood went cold. "Yes." "How did you know?" "Because he tried to take mine." Her voice was tight. 7 years ago. We talked for 2 hours. Her story, chillingly similar to mine. Meeting James. A whirlwind romance. Pregnancy. His sudden change. The abandonment followed by custody battles. "He never wanted custody," she said. "He wanted control. Punishment." Punishment for what? For getting pregnant. For trapping him. In his mind. But also ... She hesitated. His mother. She lost a child to SIDS years ago. James's little sister. She never recovered. Having a grandchild, one she could raise right, became her obsession. But why leave first? Why not just stay and be a father? Because that's not enough for them. They want the child without the mother, a do-over baby. I thought of his mother at the visitation, the proprietary way she'd held Lily. "What happened with your case?" "I ran," Vanessa said simply. "Changed names, moved states, lost everything but kept my daughter." A pause. "I shouldn't have messaged you. They monitor everything, but I couldn't let another woman go through this alone. Will you testify? Tell the court what happened." "I can't. Part of the agreement when I left, I don't exist to them. They don't exist to me. But I'll send you the name of the investigator who helped me. He found things ... double quotes." She trailed off. "Evidence. About James. About his mother. Things that might help." After we hung up, I sat in the dark. Lily's tiny breaths, the only sound. This wasn't just about James, it was about his mother too, a grieving woman trying to replace a lost child with my baby. The next morning, I called the investigator. His fee was steep, more than a month's rent, but Mama offered her wedding ring to pawn. "We're fighting for Lily," she said, slipping off. "The gold band, nothing matters more." 3 days later, the investigator called back. "You need to be careful," he said without preamble. "This guy's got resources you don't. He's been planning this since before your daughter was born." "How do you know?" "Because he hired me first. 6 months ago. To investigate you." The investigator, Mac he called himself, agreed to meet at a diner 2 towns over. "Not your regular places," he warned. "He might have people watching." Once paranoid, now prudent. Mac was older than I expected. Gray-haired, weathered face, eyes that had seen too much. He ordered coffee, pushed the cream toward me when I declined. "You look like you need it," he said. "When's the last time you slept?" I couldn't remember. 4-hour stretches at most since Lily was born. "What did he hire you to find?" I asked. Mac sighed. "Dirt. Anything usable. Ex-boyfriends with criminal records, history of mental illness, financial troubles, family scandals." He shrugged. "Standard stuff for custody battles." "And did you find anything, lady?" "Everyone's got something, but you." "Nothing worth the fees he paid me." He stirred sugar into his coffee. That made him angry. Kept pushing for more. Started suggesting places to look, people to talk to. Wanted me to emphasize certain aspects of your life, like what that night you cried at the restaurant when you were pregnant. He wanted that framed as an emotional outburst instead of what it was, a woman upset her husband was texting through dinner. My stomach turned. "You were watching us even then." "Off and on from the time you were about 4 months along. But I'm not here to apologize. I'm here because what he's doing crosses a line, even for me." He slid a folder across the table. Inside were printouts of text messages between James and various people. His mother, his lawyer, a woman named Denise I didn't recognize. "He's been coordinating testimony," Mac explained, "telling people what to say about you, paying some of them." I scanned the messages, nausea rising. James to his mother. "Make sure you mention how distracted she seemed with the baby. How she wouldn't let you hold Lily at first." James to someone named Tom. "Just say you heard arguing through the walls. Doesn't matter if it's true. Who's going to prove it wasn't?" James to Denise. $500 if you testify. All you have to say is she told you she regretted the pregnancy." "Who's Denise?" I asked. "Waitress at a bar he frequents. Never met you in her life." Felt dizzy. "This is ... criminal. Can't we take this to the police?" Mac shook his head. "It's unethical, not illegal. And technically, I stole these records. They'd never be admissible." "Then, why show me? So you know what you're up against." And this, he slid another paper across the table. might actually help you. It was a bank statement. James had withdrawn $25,000 cash the day before he left me. That's a lot of money to walk away with, Mac noted. Especially for a man who claimed financial concerns about the baby. The full hearing was scheduled for the following week. Linda prepared as best she could with limited resources. We had character witnesses: my mother, 2 friends, my former professor who would testify to my stability and responsibility. But James had more: his parents, colleagues, even my former boss, who'd somehow been convinced to paint me as unstable. The night before court, an unfamiliar number texted me, "Check your email now." The email contained a single video file. With trembling fingers, I pressed play. James appeared, sitting in what looked like a bar, talking to someone off camera. "Of course I don't want the kid," he slurred, clearly drunk. "What would I do with a baby? But my mom, ... double quotes. He shook his head. "She's obsessed. After Sarah died, she never got over it. Thinks this is her second chance. So why not just stay with Carly?" The off-camera voice asked. James laughed bitterly. "Because she trapped me, got pregnant on purpose, told me she was on the pill." He took another drink. "Nobody does that to me. Nobody. So now I'm taking the one thing she wants. That baby mom'll raise it mostly. I'll be the hero who rescued my daughter from her unstable mother." He grinned, cold and calculating even through the alcohol. Should have seen the lawyer's face when I laid out my plan. Said it was the most thorough case building he'd seen before a baby was even born. The video ended. I stared at the screen, hands shaking with rage and vindication. Who had recorded this? When did it matter? I forwarded it to Linda immediately. She called within minutes. "Where did you get this?" she demanded. "Anonymous email. I don't know who sent it. It doesn't matter. It's exactly what we need. Proof of intent. Proof of malice. This changes everything." For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of hope. Evidence of the truth. Finally, that night, Lily woke fussing at midnight. As I rocked her back to sleep, my phone chimed with a text. The same unknown number. "Good luck tomorrow. Tell Lily her half-sister is rooting for her." Half-sister Vanessa's daughter. She'd been helping me all along. I looked down at my sleeping baby, her perfect face, peaceful in the dim light. "We're going to be okay," I whispered. "I promise." Tomorrow would determine if I could keep that promise. The courthouse felt different. This time, less intimidating. Perhaps because I was no longer alone in my knowledge. Linda arrived early, tablet in hand, ready for battle. "We've filed the video as evidence," she explained. "James's lawyer is already trying to get it excluded as illegally obtained, but the judge wants to see it first." We waited in a small conference room, Lily asleep in her carrier. Mama sat beside me, holding my hand so tightly it hurt. "Whatever happens," she whispered, "we face it together." James and his lawyer passed us in the hallway. His eyes met mine briefly, confident and cold. He hadn't heard about the video yet. Good. Inside the courtroom, the same judge presided. She looked tired, as if she'd seen too many families torn apart in this room. She began by addressing James's lawyer. "Counselor, I've reviewed your motion to exclude the new evidence. However, as it appears to show your client explicitly stating his intentions regarding this custody case, I'm inclined to admit it. Unless you'd like to explain why the court shouldn't hear Mr. Reynolds' own words." The lawyer paled slightly. "Your Honor, my client was clearly intoxicated in that recording. His statements don't reflect his true intentions." "In vino veritas, Counselor," the judge replied dryly. "The court will view the recording." Watching James's face as his own drunken confession played was almost worth everything he'd put me through. The color drained from his features. His mother, sitting behind him, gasped audibly at certain parts. When it ended, the courtroom was silent. "Mr. Reynolds," the judge said, her voice deceptively calm, "would you care to explain this recording?" James leaned toward his lawyer, whispering frantically. The lawyer stood. "Your Honor, my client was upset that evening," speaking hyperbolically. The stress of the situation he deliberately created, according to his own words. The judge cut in. "We would like to request a continuance to investigate the source of this recording, which we maintain was obtained illegally." The judge considered this. Denied. "This hearing will proceed." She turned to Linda. "Counselor, call your first witness." Linda had strategized carefully. First came my mother, testifying to my care of Lily, my preparation for motherhood, James's complete absence during the pregnancy. Then my former professor. speaking to my reliability and emotional stability during the years he'd known me. When it was my turn, I handed Lily to Mama and took the stand. Linda led me through our relationship timeline, meeting James, marriage, pregnancy, abandonment, and during the pregnancy, did Mr. Reynolds provide any financial support? No, I said clearly. He emptied our joint accounts the day he left. I had to move in with my mother because I couldn't pay rent. Did he attend any doctor appointments, birthing classes, hospital tours? No, he wasn't present for any of the pregnancy after he left at 12 weeks. He didn't come to the hospital when Lily was born. The first time he saw her was when he served me custody papers 3 days after we came home. And why do you believe Mr. Reynolds is seeking custody now? I took a deep breath. Because he wants to punish me. He believes I got pregnant intentionally, to trap him, which isn't true. And because his mother wants another chance at raising a child after losing her daughter years ago. James's lawyer objected, but the judge overruled him. The witness is stating her belief based on the recorded statements already entered into evidence. When cross-examination came, James's lawyer tried a different approach. Ms. Taylor, isn't it true that you've been prescribed medication for anxiety in the past? Yes, after my father died 3 years ago, I took it for 6 months. And during your pregnancy, neighbors reported hearing arguments from your apartment, shouting, crying. Would you characterize your emotional state as stable during that time? I met his gaze steadily. The only arguments were when James told me he was leaving. As for crying, yes, I cried when the father of my child abandoned us and took our money. I think most people would. By the time Linda called her final witness, Miss Winters, the visitation supervisor James looked worried. His mother had left the courtroom during a break, face tight with anger. Ms. Winters testified professionally about the supervised visits, how James seemed more interested in performing fatherhood for her benefit than connecting with Lily, how he checked his phone repeatedly during feedings, how he seemed reluctant to handle diaper changes despite his claimed preparation. In your professional opinion, Linda asked, what is Mr. Reynolds' interest in these visits? Ms. Winters chose her words carefully. He seems very concerned with how things appear, with demonstrating parental competence rather than forming attachment. When James took the stand, his lawyer tried damage control, had him explain the recording as drunken venting, had him detail his preparations for fatherhood, the nursery at his house, the parenting books, the pediatricians he'd researched. But during cross-examination, Linda was merciless. Mr. Reynolds, in the 2 months since your daughter's birth, how much financial support have you provided? He shifted uncomfortably. I've purchased necessary items for my home, not what I asked. How much support have you sent to Ms. Taylor for Lily's daily needs? The court hasn't established support payments yet, so none. And before leaving Ms. Taylor, you withdrew $25,000 from your joint savings account. Is that correct? His jaw tightened. It was my money too. What did you use that money for, Mr. Reynolds? He glanced at his lawyer, who subtly shook his head. Personal expenses. Would those personal expenses include paying for testimony against Ms. Taylor, hiring a private investigator to follow her during pregnancy, bribing her former employer to make false statements? Objection, his lawyer shouted. Counsel is badgering the witness with unfounded accusations. Sustained, the judge said. Rephrase, counselor. Linda nodded. Mr. Reynolds, the investigator you hired, Malcolm Jenkins, has provided documentation showing you paid several individuals for testimony against Ms. Taylor. Would you like to address these payments? James paled. Mac had given us more than I realized. Those were legitimate expenses, like the $3,000 you paid to Ms. Taylor's former neighbor to testify about arguments that never happened. No answer. By closing arguments, the energy in the courtroom had shifted dramatically. James sat rigid, furious. His lawyer looked resigned. Judge took only 30 minutes to reach her decision. This court has seen many custody disputes, she began, but rarely one where a parent has so methodically attempted to manufacture evidence against the other. Mr. Reynolds, your actions demonstrate not concern for your child, but vindictiveness toward her mother, she continued, each word like a balm to my wounded heart. Full legal and physical custody is awarded to Ms. Taylor. Mr. Reynolds will have supervised visitation twice monthly, contingent on his completion of parenting classes and contribution of child support as determined by the state guidelines. James stood abruptly. This is bullsh. Sit down, Mr. Reynolds, the judge snapped. This court also orders you to pay Ms. Taylor's legal fees in full. Consider yourself fortunate I'm not referring this matter for criminal investigation into witness tampering." Outside the courtroom, I held Lily close, still not quite believing we'd won. Linda touched my shoulder. "It's not completely over," she warned. "He can petition for modification later. But we've established a strong precedent." Mama was already planning a celebration dinner, but as we walked toward the exit, I saw James waiting by the doors, his face a mask of controlled rage. "You think this is over," he said as we approached. "It's not. I'll never stop. Never." Linda stepped between us. "That sounds like a threat. Mr. Reynolds, would you like to make it in front of witnesses, or should we go back to the judge right now?" He stepped back, straightening his tie with shaking hands. "You've made an enemy for life," he said, then turned and pushed through the doors. I should have been terrified. Instead, I felt oddly calm. The truth was finally out. His plan exposed. "Let's go home," I told Mama, adjusting Lily in my arms. "The real home we're going to build together." But walking to the car, I couldn't shake the feeling that James meant what he said. This victory was just the beginning of a longer war, and next time, he'd be more careful. Victory was short-lived. 3 days after the hearing, the first call came from Child Protective Services. "We've received an anonymous report," the tired-sounding woman explained. "Allegations of neglect. We're required to investigate." My hands shook as I hung up. James, it had to be. The CPS worker who came was younger than I expected. Ms. Alvarez, dark circles under eyes that had seen too much. She glanced around our small apartment, making notes. "Crib meets safety standards," she murmured. "Adequate food, clean bottles." She checked Lily thoroughly, documenting the absence of marks or signs of neglect. "The report claimed the baby was left crying for hours," she said, "that there's drug use in the home." "None of that is true," I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. "My ex-husband lost custody last week. He's retaliating." Something flickered in her eyes, recognition. Perhaps she'd seen this before. "I have to follow procedure," she said. "But I'll note that the baby appears well cared for, and there's no evidence supporting the allegations." 2 days later, another call. Different caseworker, same allegations with new embellishments. This time, they'd received photos of allegedly unsafe conditions. Linda advised documenting everything. "It's a common tactic," she said. "Overwhelmed CPS with reports until something sticks, or until they get so tired of coming that they make a finding just to close the case." Mama suggested installing cameras, "for our protection," she said, "to show who comes and goes." It felt like paranoia until the third CPS visit, when the worker mentioned receiving reports from multiple sources, including a concerned neighbor. We didn't have concerned neighbors, just James, creating the illusion of community concern. The cameras went up that weekend. Not a moment too soon. The following Tuesday, I took Lily for her 2-month checkup. We were gone less than 2 hours. The footage showed a woman I didn't recognize trying our door, then peering in windows. That night, another CPS call claiming I'd left Lily alone. "We have the footage," I told the worker who called, "and the pediatrician's records from today. No one was left alone." Silence. Then, "I'll note that in the file." The call slowed but didn't stop. James, meanwhile, attended his court-ordered parenting classes and supervised visitations with mechanical precision, building his record of compliance while waging a shadow war. Lily grew despite the chaos, smiled at 6 weeks, gurgled conversations by 2 months, found her hands endlessly fascinating at 10 weeks. Each milestone a small victory in our ongoing battle. I returned to work part-time at a different boutique. The owner, Sophia, had been through a custody fight herself and offered flexible hours. Mama watched Lily when I worked. We established a careful routine, documented everything in case of future court appearances. But the strain was showing. I startled at unexpected sounds, checked the cameras compulsively, imagined worst-case scenarios at 3 a.m. while Lily slept peacefully. "You need help," Mama finally said after finding me sobbing in the bathroom. "Professional help." She was right. The next day, I called a therapist who specialized in post-traumatic stress. Dr. Chen. She couldn't take insurance, but offered a sliding scale. "What you're experiencing is normal," she told me during our first session. "Hypervigilance, anxiety. Your body believes you're still in danger." "I am still in danger," I said. He's still trying to take her. Then we need to separate the real threats from the perceived ones. Build your resilience, because this may be a long fight. I left her office with homework, breathing exercises, thought records, and something I hadn't felt in months. A sense of agency, of fighting back rather than just reacting. That night, after putting Lily down, I opened my laptop and started a document titled, "For Lily's Someday." A record of everything that had happened, everything I was doing to protect her, everything she needed to know if James ever tried to poison her against me. Because this wasn't just about now. This was about the future, about who would tell our story, and how I wouldn't let it be him. When Lily turned 4 months old, James filed his first motion to modify custody. The legal document cited his consistent visitation record and completion of parenting education as evidence of his commitment. It claimed I was obstructing his relationship with his daughter and demonstrating continued instability. Linda was unsurprised. Standard playbook. Complete the minimum requirements, then immediately petitioned for more. The motion requested unsupervised weekend visitation, including overnights. The thought of Lily, still breastfed, still waking twice nightly, spending entire weekends with him, made me physically ill. He doesn't even know how to put her to sleep, I told Linda. He's never done a night feeding. The court generally won't separate a breastfeeding infant from the mother for extended periods, she assured me, but prepare for them to suggest you pump milk for his visitations. We gathered evidence for the response. Lily's pediatrician documented her breastfeeding schedule and developmental needs. Dr. Chen provided a letter about the psychological importance of consistent caregiving in infancy. Ms. Winters, still supervising the bi-weekly visits, noted James's limited engagement with Lily's daily care. The hearing was brief. The same judge, remembering the previous case all too well, denied James's request for overnights but granted slightly longer supervised visits. Revisit when the child is weaned, she suggested. Outside the courtroom, James didn't approach me directly. Instead, his mother did. She needs her father, she said, blocking my path. You can't keep her from us forever. I'm not keeping her from anyone, I replied, heart racing but voice steady. James has his visitation. He's welcome to be a father during those times. Her eyes, so like James's, narrowed. You don't understand what family means, what blood means. I understand everything, I said, thinking of Vanessa's warnings, of the sister they'd lost. But Lily isn't Sarah. She can't replace her. The older woman paled. How dare you? Is there a problem here? Linda appeared at my side, professionally intimidating in her courthouse attire. James's mother stepped back. This isn't over, she said, an echo of her son's threat, before turning to join him by the elevators. That night, Sophia invited us to dinner at her apartment. Her son was a few months older than Lily, already mobile in ways that gave me a glimpse of our near future. The babies played on a blanket while we ate actual, hot food and drank wine for the first time in months. How are you really doing? Sophia asked when the babies were finally asleep. Not the I'm fine version you tell everyone else. The question broke something open. I'm so tired, I admitted. Not just physically. It's the constant vigilance, waiting for the next attack. I don't know how to live like this for years. She nodded, understanding in her eyes. After my ex lost custody, he slashed my tires, called my work so many times they almost fired me, told everyone I was crazy, on drugs, sleeping around. How did you survive it? One day at a time. And eventually, he got bored, found someone new to torment. She refilled my wine. They usually do, you know, once they realize they can't control you anymore. I thought of James's cold determination, his mother's obsession. I don't think they'll ever stop. Then you outlast them, she said simply. You build a life so good, so solid, that their attacks can't shake it. You find allies, you document everything, and you love that baby so fiercely that no court, no judge, no amount of lies can ever come between you. It sounded impossible. But looking at Sophia successful, balanced, raising a happy child despite everything, made me wonder if there was a path through this after all. The next morning, I woke to find Lily pulling herself up in her crib, determined little face, focused on this new challenge. I watched her fall, try again, fall, try again, until she succeeded in standing wobble-legged against the rails. My daughter, already teaching me about resilience, about getting back up. We're going to be okay, I told her, A promise I intended to keep it that afternoon. My phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. Miss Taylor, this is Principal Watkins at Lakeside Elementary. Your husband listed you as an emergency contact. There's been an incident with his daughter. The world stopped. His daughter. Yes, Amelia Reynolds. She fell during recess. Nothing serious, but we can't reach Mr. Reynolds. Amelia Reynolds. A daughter I'd never heard of. A child James had never mentioned. How many secrets was this man keeping? How many lives had he torn apart before mine? I called Linda immediately after hanging up with the school. Another child, I said, still processing the revelation. A daughter, Amelia. Are you certain it's his? She asked. Could be a niece, a family friend. The principal said his daughter and called me because I was listed as her father's wife. My mind raced with implications. Why wouldn't he mention having another child during the entire custody case? Because it would raise questions, Linda said, thinking aloud, about his parenting history, his involvement with this other child. I remembered Vanessa's story, her escape with her daughter. Had there been others between us? I need to find out more. Linda hesitated, carefully. If she's enrolled at Lakeside, they live in that district. It's not far from James's apartment. Armed with a first name and approximate age, I searched social media that night after Lily fell asleep. Nothing obvious appeared, but I wasn't surprised. James was too careful to leave easy trails. The next morning, I called Mac. I need information about a child, I explained. Amelia Reynolds, elementary school age, connected to James somehow. Mac's silence spoke volumes. You don't know about Amelia. I just found out yesterday. The school called me as his emergency contact. A heavy sigh. I should have dug deeper. Assumed he'd disclosed prior children during the custody case. A pause. Give me a day. True to his word, Mac called the following evening. Amelia Reynolds, age 7. Born to James Reynolds and Catherine Wynne. Never married. Catherine died in a car accident 3 years ago. Amelia lives primarily with her maternal grandmother, Gloria Wynne. James has visitation but no formal custody arrangement. The pieces click together with sickening clarity. He abandoned them too. Appears so. Until Catherine's death, there's no record of him being involved in Amelia's life. After she died, he suddenly appeared with claims of paternal rights. The grandmother fought him but couldn't afford extended legal battles. They reached a private agreement. Does Amelia visit him regularly? Weekend visits. Plus he's listed as emergency contact at her school. Grandmother's health is failing, cancer. She's worried about what happens to Amelia if she dies. My heart ached for this child I'd never met. Another pawn in James's games. Another life he could damage and discard. I need to speak with the grandmother. I decided. Mac provided Gloria Wynne's address, a modest home across town. The next day, while Mama watched Lily, I drove there with nervousness churning my stomach. What would I say? Would she even speak to me? The woman who answered the door was thin, frail in a way that spoke of illness, but her eyes were sharp. Mrs. Wynne, my name is Carly Taylor. I single quotes M. Double quotes. How to explain? I recently had a child with James Reynolds. I need to talk to you about Amelia. Her expression hardened, then softened with something like pity. You'd better come in. We sat in her small living room, photos of Amelia everywhere, smiling girl with her mother's red hair and James's eyes. He did it again, Gloria said, shaking her head. Found another young woman to manipulate. She told me everything. How James had dated her daughter briefly. Disappeared when she got pregnant. Reappeared after Catherine's death. Suddenly interested in parental rights. Catherine named me guardian in her will, but he threatened to fight it. Said no judge would choose a grandmother over a biological father. Her hands trembled slightly. I couldn't risk losing her completely. Couldn't afford the lawyers he could, so we compromised. He gets visitation. I maintain primary custody. Does he actually spend time with her during visits? Gloria's smile was bitter. Sometimes, often she comes back saying she spent the weekend with Grandma Reynolds while Daddy was working or out with friends. James's mother, always his mother. Does Amelia have a good relationship with him? She barely knows him, but she's desperate for a father, so she pretends. Gloria studied me. You have a baby with him. A girl. I nodded. Lily, 4 months old. He'll try to take her from you. Not a question but a certainty. Just like he's positioning to take Amelia when I'm gone. I won't let that happen, I said. To Lily or to Amelia. Gloria's eyes filled with tears. I have stage 4 pancreatic cancer, 6 months, maybe less. I've been trying to find someone, family, friends, who could take Amelia, but there's no one who can fight him legally. An idea formed, dangerous but compelling. What if we helped each other? My evidence of his abandonment pattern, combined with your experience, if we documented everything, created a case file about his history with both children, a unified front, Gloria finished, hope flickering across her tired face. He wouldn't expect us to connect. Exactly. And if I hesitated, not wanting to be cruel, if something happens to you, we'd have groundwork laid for someone else to seek guardianship, someone who could prove he's an unfit father. We talked for hours, sharing stories, comparing tactics James had used against us both, the same manipulation, the same sudden abandonment followed by unexpected custody interest, the same involvement of his mother. As I left, Gloria pressed a photo into my hand. Amelia at her last birthday, gap-toothed smile bright despite everything. She should know her sister, Gloria said, when the time is right. Driving home, the photo on the passenger seat beside me, I felt the weight of responsibility doubling. Not just Lily now, but Amelia too. Two girls who deserved better than becoming pawns in James's twisted games. Two sisters who might someday need each other, just as Gloria and I needed each other now. The discovery of Amelia changed everything. No longer fighting just for Lily, I was now part of a larger pattern women and children James had used and discarded. His mother's obsession with replacing her lost daughter had created a trail of broken families. Linda thought the information about Amelia could strengthen our case. It establishes a pattern of behavior, she explained. Abandonment followed by custody claims without genuine interest in parenting. But using this information meant potentially dragging Amelia into our legal battle. I couldn't do that to a child already facing her grandmother's illness. We hold it in reserve, I decided, only if absolutely necessary. Meanwhile, Gloria and I developed our contingency plan. She updated her will, naming her sister-in-law as Amelia's guardian should anything happen to her. The sister-in-law, a kind woman named Beth who lived 2 states away, was willing to fight for custody if necessary. James won't expect resistance from that quarter, Gloria said during one of our weekly meetings. He thinks I'm alone. Not anymore, I thought. Gloria introduced me to Amelia during one of these visits. We kept it casual, just a friend, stopping by with her baby. Amelia was immediately enchanted by Lily, gently touching her tiny hands, singing to her. She looks like my dad, Amelia observed, studying Lily's features, around the eyes. My heart clenched. You think so? Amelia nodded solemnly. I have his eyes too. That's what Grandma says. After she went to play in her room, Gloria whispered, she doesn't know yet about Lily being her sister. I thought it might be too complicated right now. I agreed. The timing wasn't right. But watching Amelia's gentle interactions with Lily, I vowed they would know each other someday, would have the chance to be real sisters. At 6 months, Lily started solid foods, reached for toys with determination, and began the early sounds that would become words. Each milestone felt like a small victory in our ongoing war. James continued his supervised visits with mechanical regularity, never missing one, never showing real warmth, always performing fatherhood for the supervisor's benefit. The CPS calls had mostly stopped. Our camera system and detailed documentation had made those attacks too risky for James to continue. But he found other methods. Anonymous complaints to my workplace about unprofessional behavior. Cancelled appointments with Lily's pediatrician, somehow made through their online system. Mail mysteriously disappearing, including a support check that was then used as evidence I wasn't depositing his payments. Small things, irritating rather than devastating. But the constant drip of harassment wore on me. He's trying to break you down, Dr. Chun said during therapy, make you too exhausted to fight. It's working, I admitted, during a particularly low moment. Sometimes I think about just giving up, letting him have what he wants. What does he want? The question made me pause. Control, punishment, not Lily. No, she's just the weapon. Dr. Chen nodded. Then giving up won't end the war. It will just change the battlefield. She was right. James wouldn't stop if he got partial custody. He'd just find new ways to exert control, new ways to punish me through our daughter. The real turning point came unexpectedly. One Saturday morning, preparing Lily for her supervised visit, I received a call from Ms. Winters. I can't make today's visit, she said, voice unusually tight. Family emergency. The agency is sending a replacement Sarah Miller. Something in her tone caught my attention. Is everything okay? A pause. Just document everything today, carefully. The new supervisor arrived precisely on time. Young, blonde, professionally dressed. Sarah Miller. She introduced herself with a bright smile that didn't reach her eyes. Something about her seemed familiar, though I couldn't place it. I handed Lily over with my usual reluctance. James arrived minutes later. His momentary surprise at seeing Sarah instead of Ms. Winters quickly shifted to something else: recognition. They exchanged glances, too familiar for strangers. Throughout the visit, I watched them through the apartment's security camera. Sarah took minimal notes, stepped outside several times to make calls, left James alone with Lily longer than protocol allowed. When the visit ended, James lingered, speaking intently to Sarah in the hallway outside my apartment. I couldn't hear the conversation, but their body language spoke volumes. They knew each other. As soon as they left, I called Ms. Winters. Who is Sarah Miller? She seems connected to James somehow. That's what I suspected. Ms. Winters sighed. Sarah Miller is my agency's newest employee, hired last month. Specifically requested your case today when I called out. But who is she? I don't know for certain, but when she applied, she listed Mrs. Reynolds, James's mother, as a personal reference. Cold realization washed over me. Another plant, another piece in James's elaborate game. I called Linda immediately. By Monday, we'd filed a formal complaint with the visitation agency and the court. Sarah Miller was removed from our case, but the damage was done. She'd filed a glowing report about James's parenting skills and bond with Lily. They're getting bolder, Linda warned, more sophisticated in their approach. That night, staring at Lily's sleeping face, I made a decision. We couldn't keep living like this, jumping at shadows, suspicious of everyone, waiting for the next attack. It was time to change the game entirely. Changing the game meant going on the offensive. No more simply reacting to James's attacks. It was time to build a case so strong, he'd have no choice but to back down. Linda helped me craft the strategy. First, we'd compile a complete history of James's pattern with his children. Vanessa's experience, Catherine and Amelia, me and Lily. Documentation showing abandonment, followed by custody claims without genuine interest in parenting. We don't file anything yet, Linda explained. But we prepare as if we're going to court tomorrow. Mac agreed to help, now working pro bono. This guy's pissed me off, he admitted. Using kids as weapons isn't my style. We created a secure digital vault, all evidence backed up in multiple locations. Every interaction with James recorded and transcribed. Every supervised visit documented. Every financial transaction tracked. The most important piece came unexpectedly. Gloria called one evening, her voice stronger than I'd heard in weeks. I found Catherine's journals, she said. She kept detailed records of everything with James. The pregnancy, his disappearance, the years of no contact. Even recordings of phone calls when he tried to get back in touch after she got engaged to someone else. That's incredible, I breathed. Would you be willing to share them? I'm making copies now. She deserves justice too, even if she's not here to see it. The journals arrived in a nondescript package. Reading Catherine's words, her confusion, her pain, her eventual healing was like seeing my own experience through another woman's eyes. The same patterns, the same manipulative tactics, the same cold abandonment. One entry particularly stood out. James called again today. Says he wants to be part of Amelia's life now that I'm engaged to Mark. Where was he for the first 3 years? He claims he's changed, that he regrets leaving, but something feels wrong. Like he's only interested because I'm finally happy without him. Like he can't stand the thought of another man raising his child. Gloria's health was declining rapidly. We spent hours at her kitchen table, organizing evidence, creating timelines, preparing for the battle we knew was coming. Amelia would join us sometimes, drawing pictures while we worked, occasionally asking questions we answered as honestly as age-appropriate boundaries allowed. One afternoon, while Gloria rested, Amelia sat beside me on the porch swing. Is Lily my sister? She asked suddenly. Really sister, not just pretend. I hesitated, caught off guard. What makes you think that? Dad has a picture of her on his phone, and Grandma Reynolds calls her the baby when she thinks I can't hear. She looked up at me with those familiar eyes. And she looks like me when I was little. I saw the pictures. 7 years old and already piecing together the truths adults tried to hide. I thought of the secrets that had allowed James to repeat his pattern with multiple women and children, the silence that protected him. Yes, I said finally. Lily is your half-sister. You have the same father. She nodded, absorbing this. Does that mean you're my stepmother? No, honey. Your dad and I aren't married anymore. But you're Lily's mom, and Lily is my sister. Her child's logic was beautifully simple. So that makes you kind of like my mom too, right? My heart ached for this little girl who'd lost her mother, who was slowly losing her grandmother, who was trying to make sense of a fractured family. I'm not trying to replace your mom, I said carefully. But I can be someone who cares about you, who wants to make sure you and Lily know each other growing up. She considered this, then nodded. I'd like that. Lily needs a big sister to teach her stuff. That evening, as I tucked Lily into her crib, I made her a promise. You'll know your sister. Whatever happens, I'll make sure of that. The pieces of our case continued to come together. Mac uncovered financial records showing James had paid for false testimony in both custody cases. Linda found a legal precedent for malicious litigation that might apply to James's pattern of using the courts as harassment. But the true breakthrough came from an unexpected source. James's mother's nurse, concerned about what she'd overheard, reached out through Sophia's network of single mothers. They're planning something, she warned during our clandestine meeting at a coffee shop. Something big, to prove you're an unfit mother once and for all. The nurse salon risked her job to warn us. Mrs. Reynolds has become obsessed. She explained in hushed tones. She talks about saving both girls constantly, claims you're dangerous, unstable. What are they planning? I asked, dread pooling in my stomach. I don't know specifics, but they meet with their lawyer weekly. And I've heard them mention something happening at the next supervised visit. Linda advised canceling the upcoming visitation. But that could backfire, give James ammunition about me interfering with his parental rights. Instead, we prepared meticulously. Additional cameras, a second witness Sophia present in the apartment. Mac parked outside, watching for unusual activity. The day of the visit, James arrived with a new tactic: warmth, charm. The man I'd fallen 4 years ago suddenly resurrected. You look good, Carly, he said, smiling as if we were old friends. Motherhood suits you. I maintained a neutral expression, said nothing beyond the necessary exchanges about Lily's schedule. His sudden pleasantness was more alarming than his usual cold demeanor. An hour into the visit, James's phone rang. He answered, his face immediately concerned. Now, but I'm with Lily. A pause. Yes, I understand. I'll be right there. He turned to me, expression perfectly calibrated to show reluctance and worry. My mother's had a fall. The nurse called an ambulance. I need to go to the hospital. The supervisor back to Ms. Winters now. The visit isn't scheduled to end for another hour. It's an emergency, James insisted. Carly understands, don't you? Family emergencies happen. Every instinct screamed trap. Ellen had warned us they were planning something. Of course, I said, carefully. I hope your mother is okay. He left quickly, the supervisor following standard protocol for an abbreviated visit. Sophia and I exchanged glances. Something wasn't right. 20 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. 2 police officers stood in the hallway. Ms. Taylor, we've received a report of child endangerment. My blood ran cold. What report? Caller claimed you're intoxicated and threatening harm to your infant. We need to check the welfare of the child. The setup became clear. James leaves abruptly. Calls in a false report. Police find me drunk and dangerous. The perfect opportunity to request emergency custody. Except I was completely sober. The apartment was clean, safe. Lily was peacefully napping in her crib. Officers, I believe this is a false report related to an ongoing custody dispute, I said calmly. I'm not intoxicated. My child is safe, and everything that happens in this apartment is recorded. I gestured to the visible security cameras, then to Sophia. I also have a witness who's been here throughout the day. The officers conducted their welfare check with professional thoroughness. Found nothing concerning one of them. An older woman, with kind eyes, lingered as her partner spoke into his radio. This isn't the first false report we've had to this address, she noted quietly. Might be worth filing a report about harassment. After they left, I called Linda immediately. It's escalating, she warned. The failed setup might make him more desperate. That night, Mac called with news. The hospital has no record of Mrs. Reynolds being admitted today. No ambulance calls to their address, either. The entire emergency had been fabricated. A coordinated attempt to create a situation where I'd appear unfit. 2 days later, Gloria was hospitalized. The cancer had spread aggressively. Weeks, not months, the doctor told us gently. Amelia stayed with me while Gloria underwent another round of treatment, the two girls together, Lily crawling after her big sister, Amelia carefully showing her toys and books cemented my resolve to keep them connected. In Gloria's hospital room, holding her frail hand, I made a promise. I'll look out for her, make sure she knows about you, about Catherine. Gloria squeezed my hand weakly. And I'll make sure Catherine's journals help you. We added a section to my will: all evidence, all documentation goes to you. If anything happens to me, don't talk that way, I protested. Her smile was peaceful. I've made my peace. Catherine's waiting for me. Just make sure our girls have each other. James filed another modification request. Linda responded with our own motion-supervised visitation, only in a professional facility rather than my home, due to demonstrated attempts to create false allegations. The judge, familiar with our case history, granted our request. James would see Lily only at the county's supervised visitation center, with professional staff present at all times. It was a small victory. But Gloria's declining health and James's increasingly disparate tactics warned me the real battle was still coming. I just didn't expect it to arrive in the form of a middle-of-the-night phone call from the hospital. Gloria was gone, and James had already filed for emergency custody of Amelia. Gloria's funeral was small but beautiful. Amelia, stoic beyond her years, stood between me and Beth, Gloria's sister-in-law. We'd explained that she would be living with Beth now, as her mother and grandmother had arranged. "What about weekends with Dad?" she asked, her young mind trying to make sense of the changes. "We're working that out," Beth answered carefully. The truth was more complicated. James had filed for full custody before Gloria's body was even cold. Beth, armed with Gloria's will and Catherine's journals, had immediately counterfiled. But James had resources. Beth didn't: money, legal connections, and a willingness to play dirty. Linda agreed to represent Beth pro bono. "These cases are connected now," she explained. "If he gets Amelia, he'll use that precedent for Lily." The custody hearing for Amelia was scheduled with remarkable speed. James's influence at work. We had just 2 weeks to prepare. Those weeks passed in a blur of legal documents, strategy sessions, and caring for both girls. Amelia stayed with me temporarily while Beth arranged her move. The sisters bonded further, Lily now babbling AMA whenever her big sister entered the room. James, predictably, used this arrangement against us. "Miss Taylor has no legal relationship to Amelia," his lawyer argued in preliminary motions. "Her involvement is inappropriate interference." The court disagreed, allowing the temporary arrangement to continue until the hearing. Small victory. 3 days before court, Mac arrived at my apartment with a manila envelope. "Found something," he said, his usually impassive face showing rare emotion. "Police report from 6 years ago. Domestic disturbance at Catherine's apartment." The report detailed Catherine's call to police about James's threatening behavior after she told him about her pregnancy. No charges filed, but the responding officer noted Catherine was visibly shaken and James had punched a hole in the wall. "Physical intimidation," Linda noted, adding it to our evidence, "establishes a pattern of reaction to pregnancy news." The day of the hearing arrived, cold and gray. Amelia wore the dress Gloria had chosen months earlier for this very day, understanding more than a child should about custody battles and courtrooms. "Whatever happens," I told her that morning, "Lily and I will always be your family too." She nodded solemnly. "I know. You promised." The courtroom was familiar territory now. James and his mother sat at one table, his lawyer between them, Beth and Linda at the other, with me in the gallery behind them. James's eyes narrowed when he saw me, then widened in surprise when Max slipped in beside me, the judge different from the one in my case reviewed. The files with a furrowed brow. "This is an unusual situation," she began. The child's mother designated her aunt as guardian. The father, largely absent until recently, wants custody. Both provide seemingly stable homes. James's lawyer presented first, painting James as a devoted father separated from his child by Catherine's unreasonable restrictions, claimed his visitation had been consistent. It hadn't, emphasized the importance of blood relations and father's rights. Mrs. Reynolds testified about her close relationship with Amelia during weekend visits. her desire to keep the family together, her concern about Amelia moving states away from the only father she knows. Throughout their testimony, I watched the judge's face. She revealed little, but occasionally glanced at Amelia, sitting quietly with the court-appointed guardian ad litem. When Beth's side presented, Linda was methodical. Catherine's journals, the police report, Gloria's affidavit, recorded before her death, evidence of James's absence for the first 3 years of Amelia's life, followed by sporadic contact after Catherine's death. Most damaging was the financial evidence. James had paid minimal child support despite his comfortable income, had contributed nothing to Amelia's education or health care, had even missed her last birthday while on a golf trip. Actions speak louder than words, Linda concluded. Mr. Reynolds' actions consistently show a father interested in rights without responsibilities, control without commitment. The judge called a brief recess. In the hallway, Amelia sat between Beth and me, drawing in a sketchbook Gloria had given her. James approached, his mother hovering nearby. "Amelia should be with me during the recess," he said, voice carrying just enough for nearby court staff to hear. "I'm her father." Before I could respond, Amelia looked up. "I want to stay with Carly," she said clearly, and Aunt Beth. James's face darkened momentarily before he composed himself. "Sweetie, don't you want to spend time with Daddy? And Grandma brought your favorite cookies?" Amelia looked at him steadily, with eyes so like his own. "No thank you," she said politely, then returned to her drawing. It was a small moment, probably meant little in legal terms, but watching James's carefully constructed facade crack slightly gave me hope. When court resumed, the judge announced her decision. "After reviewing all evidence, this court finds it in Amelia's best interest to honor her mother's wishes. Guardianship is granted to Elizabeth Wynne, with reasonable visitation for the father to be arranged through family services." For the first time in this long battle, I saw James truly lose control, his face contorted with rage as he stood. "This is outrageous. She's my daughter, my blood." "Mr. Reynolds," the judge warned, "control yourself or be removed." He subsided, but the damage was done. His outburst, witnessed by court staff and the guardian ad litem, would become part of the record. Outside the courtroom, Beth hugged Amelia close. "We're going home, sweetie. Can I say goodbye to Lily first?" Amelia asked. "Of course. We'll visit this weekend before we leave." I felt James watching us from across the hallway, his mother whispering urgently in his ear. The battle for Amelia was over, but I knew the war for Lily was about to escalate. James's response to losing Amelia was swift and vicious. Within days, he filed for emergency modification of our custody arrangement, claiming new evidence of my collusion with Gloria and Beth to alienate him from both daughters. The filing included photos of me at Gloria's house, at the hospital, at the funeral, me with Amelia and Lily together, all presented as evidence of some conspiracy rather than simple human compassion. "It's desperate," Linda assured me. "The judge will see through it." But James's desperation made him dangerous. He missed his next scheduled visitation with Lily, then filed a complaint that I had denied him access when security footage from the visitation center proved he simply hadn't shown up. He claimed a miscommunication about the date. His mother, meanwhile, began appearing everywhere: the grocery store, the boutique where I worked, even outside Lily's daycare. Never approaching, just watching. When I mentioned this to Linda, she immediately filed for a restraining order. "Document every sighting," she instructed. "Date, time, location. If she violates the order, we can leverage that in custody proceedings." Lily turned one amid this chaos, walking now, saying a handful of words, her personality emerging more each day. For her birthday, we had a small party, just Mama Sophia and her son, and a video call with Beth and Amelia from their new home. James sent an expensive doll that Lily was too young to play with. His card read simply, "To my daughter on her first birthday, your father." No personal message, no acknowledgement of her as an individual, just a statement of ownership. The hearing for his emergency modification was scheduled, then delayed at his lawyer's request, then rescheduled. Classic tactics to prolong the stress and drain my resources. During this time, Mac continued building our case. He found 2 more women with similar stories, brief relationships with James, pregnancies, abandonment. Neither had children with him. One miscarried, one terminated the pregnancy. but both described the same pattern of charm followed by cold rejection. 5 women, Mac noted grimly. 5 pregnancies, 2 children he's tried to claim ownership of without doing the work of parenting. The pattern was undeniable. The question was whether it would be enough to end this cycle for good. Our hearing finally arrived just after Lily's 15th month. She was running now, climbing everything, fearless in ways that both terrified and inspired me. I dressed her in a simple blue dress, her fine hair clipped back with tiny barrettes that she immediately tried to remove. Ready to see the judge again, I whispered, more to myself than to her. The courtroom felt different this time. Same judge, same tables, same opposing sides, but now I had a binder of evidence so thick it barely closed. Now I had testimonials from other women. Now I had proof of a pattern spanning nearly a decade. James looked confident as always, but strain showed around his eyes. His mother sat behind him, noticeably thinner, her face set in grim determination. His lawyer presented the emergency, first claiming my involvement with Amelia's case represented an attempt to alienate both children from their father and grandmother. Ms. Taylor has systematically interfered with Mr. Reynolds' relationships with both his daughters, the lawyer argued. She colluded with Gloria Wynne to deny him custody of his eldest child and is now attempting to do the same with Lily. Linda's cross-examination was surgical. Did Mr. Reynolds maintain regular contact with Amelia before her mother's death? He had an informal arrangement. Records indicate he saw Amelia approximately 4 times in the first 3 years of her life. Would you call that regular contact? Clear answer. Has Mr. Reynolds missed any scheduled visitations with Lily in the past 3 months? There was a miscommunication about dates, yes or no? Counselor, yes, but has Mr. Reynolds paid his court-ordered child support consistently? There were some delays due to banking issues, yes or no? No. When our turn came, Linda presented not just the history of our case, but the larger pattern, Catherine's journals, statements from the other women, financial records showing minimal support despite substantial income. This isn't about one custody dispute, Linda argued. This is about a pattern of behavior spanning years. Mr. Reynolds abandons pregnant partners, then attempts to claim their children later not out of paternal love, but as a means of control and punishment. I testified last, keeping my voice steady despite James's cold stare. I spoke of his abandonment during pregnancy. His words when he left. This is your problem. His absence during Lily's birth and early weeks. His sudden interest in custody only after I was vulnerable and alone. I've never denied him access to Lily, I concluded. I've followed every court order, facilitated every visit. All I'm asking is protection from his pattern of using the courts to harass and control me. The judge asked several questions, her expression thoughtful. Then she called a brief recess to review all evidence. In the hallway, Mama took Lily for a walk while I used the restroom. When I emerged, James was waiting. You think you've won, he said quietly. No witnesses nearby. But you haven't. This isn't over until I say it's over. Why are you doing this? I asked. The question that had haunted me for months. You don't even want to be a father. You just want to hurt me. You're right about one thing, he said, his voice cold. I don't want to be a father. My mother does. She lost her daughter, and now she's fixated on having granddaughters to replace her. I'm just trying to be a good son. The admission stunned me. So this whole thing, all of it was for her. Does it matter? You took Amelia from us. You won't take Lily to... He walked away before I could respond, leaving me with the sickening realization that this had never really been about me, or even about Lily. We were just pawns in a larger, more twisted game between James and his grief-consumed mother. When court resumed, the judge delivered her ruling with firm clarity. Having reviewed all evidence, this court finds no emergency exists to justify modification. Further, due to the pattern of using court filings as a means of harassment, this court is issuing a no-contact order between Mr. Reynolds and Ms. Taylor except through their attorneys. Mr. Reynolds, visitation will continue at the supervised center only, with no possibility of overnight visits for at least 1 year. It wasn't a complete victory. James still had visitation rights, but the restrictions and the no-contact order provided a buffer I desperately needed. Outside the courtroom, Linda squeezed my hand. It's not over completely, she warned, but we've drawn clear boundaries, established consequences. Watching James and his mother leave, heads bent in conversation, I wondered if any legal ruling could truly end what had become an obsession for them both. But for the first time since Lily's birth, I felt something like hope, not just for our immediate safety, but for the possibility of a future where court battles and constant vigilance weren't our daily reality. That night, rocking Lily to sleep, I whispered a new promise. One day, this will all be just a story I tell you, about how hard I fought to keep you, about how much you're loved. She looked up at me with sleepy eyes so like her father's, yet filled with innocence and trust he'd never known. Mama, she murmured, patting my cheek with a tiny hand. In that moment, nothing else mattered. Not James, not the courts, not the battles behind or ahead. Just this, just us. 5 years later, the backyard is alive with laughter. Lily, now 6, chases Sophia's son around the swing set while Mama arranges cupcakes on a picnic table. My house is modest, but ours entirely. A small victory garden grows along the fence, tomatoes ripening in the summer sun. When is Amelia coming? Lily asks for the 5th time, bouncing with excitement. Any minute now, I assure her. Aunt Beth texted that they're 10 minutes away. The relationship between the sisters has flourished, despite distance. Monthly video calls, summer visits, Christmas holidays together. Beth has been a steadfast ally in keeping the girls connected, bringing Amelia to stay with us whenever school breaks allow. James continues his supervised visits with mechanical regularity, never missing one, never requesting more. His performance of fatherhood now, habit rather than a weapon. Lily knows him, accepts his presence, but shows none of the enthusiasm she reserves for her sister's visits. His mother passed away last year, the cancer she'd hidden during our court battles finally taking her. James called to inform me, his voice flat. She wanted to see Lily one last time, he said. You never asked, I replied. A simple truth that seemed to surprise him. Since her death, something has changed in him. The cold determination faded, replaced by a weary resignation. At Lily's last birthday, he arrived with a gift and an awkward request. I'm moving to Phoenix, he said. For work. It wasn't work. I knew from Mac that he'd met someone new. Was starting over, as men like him always do. What about your visitation? I asked, already knowing the answer. I'll fly back when I can. He wouldn't, we both knew it. Maybe Lily can visit me sometimes. She wouldn't want to. We both knew that too. I think of that conversation now, watching my daughter, our daughter, laugh in the sunshine. How close I came to losing her. How hard I fought to keep her. The scars that battle left. Some still tender when pressed. The therapy, the hypervigilance that took years to ease, the panic attacks when court dates approached, the way I flinched at unexpected knocks, jumped at sudden movements, the nightmares where I searched empty rooms for my child while James watched, smiling. Dr. Chen says healing isn't linear. Some days are harder than others. Some triggers still catch me off guard, but the good days outnumber the bad now. The fear no longer dictates our lives. A car pulls into the driveway. Beth's sensible sedan. Lily squeals, running to meet them. Amelia emerges, 12 now and growing so tall, her mother's red hair blazing in the sun. The girls collide in a hug that makes my heart swell. Beth joins me on the porch, passing me a gift bag. For the graduate, she says with a smile. Though kindergarten graduation seems a bit much, I laugh. Tell that to Mama. She ordered a professional cake. We watch the sisters together. Heads bent over something Amelia is showing Lily from her backpack. Despite different mothers, different upbringings, the connection between them is undeniable, something James couldn't sever, despite his best efforts. How's she doing? I ask, meaning Amelia. Beth understands, good days and bad. She started asking more questions about Catherine recently. I gave her the journals, the appropriate parts. It helped, I think, to hear her mother's voice. And James called on her birthday. Sent a gift card. She shrugs. Same as last year. The pattern continues, but its power has diminished. The girls have us now, a circle of women who fought for them, who tell them the truth, who keep their father's failures in perspective without teaching hatred. Have you told Lily yet? Beth asks, nodding toward the paperwork on my kitchen counter, visible through the screen door. Tonight, after the party, the papers finalize James's voluntary termination of parental rights. His final act before moving across the country to start his new life, a decision that surprised everyone except those who knew his pattern. He just gave up. Beth had asked when I told her, not gave up, moved on, found a new target for his manipulations, a new woman to charm and eventually control. Without his mother's obsession driving him, Lily had become an obligation rather than a weapon. His loss, our gain. The doorbell rings, Sophia arriving with more food, more children, more noise and life. The house fills with friends who stood by me during the darkest times, who watched Lily when I had court dates, who brought meals when I was too exhausted to cook, who believed me when James tried to convince the world I was unstable, unfit. Later, when the party winds down, when the cupcakes are reduced to crumbs and the presents opened with appropriate exclamations of delight, I find a quiet moment with my daughter. I have something to tell you, I say, sitting beside her on the porch swing. About your dad. She looks up at me with clear eyes, her father's eyes, but filled with a steadiness he never possessed. He's moving far away, I explain, and he won't be coming for visits anymore. She considers this, her little face serious. Will I still see Amelia? Of course, whenever we can arrange it. She's your sister, no matter what. She nods, seemingly satisfied. Can we call her tomorrow too? I want to show her my new bike. No tears, no confusion, no sense of loss, just the simple acceptance of a child whose father has been a peripheral figure at best. Absolutely, I promise, pulling her close. Inside, Amelia is helping Mama clean up. Beth is chatting with Sophia, life continuing in its imperfect, beautiful way. The family we've created, not through blood, but through choice, through struggle, through love, that persisted despite everything thrown against it. I think of that terrified new mother I once was, served custody papers while still bleeding, from childbirth. How hopeless it all seemed then, how impossible the road ahead appeared. If I could speak to her now, I would tell her, you will survive this. You will build something beautiful from these ashes. Your daughter will thrive, not despite this struggle, but because of the strength it forces you to find. The sun sets slowly over our little yard, casting long shadows across the grass where Lily now plays with Amelia. Sisters united despite everything meant to divide them. This is our victory. Not the court battles won, though those mattered. Not the legal documents proving our rights, though those protected us. This moment, this peace, this family we've built from broken pieces. This is what he couldn't take from us, no matter how hard he tried. If you're listening to this and fighting your own battle for your child, for your future, for your very self, know that you aren't alone. We're out here too. Survivors, rebuilders, women who refused to be broken by men who thought us easy to shatter. Subscribe to our channel if you believe in second chances. Leave a comment with the words, I survived, so I know you're out there too, because someday your story might help another woman find her strength. Just as I hope mine has helped you find yours. We survive, we rebuild, we thrive. That's the true story of this single mom.